Hey, good Sunday afternoon. It is December 29th, a little after 3 p.m. Eastern time. We're going to talk about an incredibly cold and stormy weather pattern coming. Just really a possibly dangerous amount of cold, or level of cold, if you will. Clipper systems galore and a couple of bigger storm systems mid-month. And we're going to talk about how long does this last? What's the February pattern look like? All the things. We're going to talk about that here in this video today. Share it with a friend. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Let folks know you're watching. This is the timeline. The cold arrives, the evening of New Year's Day, 8th to the 12th of January, extreme cold and clippers, a bigger storm risk mid-January, somewhere around the 17th. Pattern starts to retrograde, and what I mean by that is move west. I'm going to explain that. If we're going to shift the trough axis west, we're going to shift possibly bring in some southeast ridging to the U.S. as well. As the trough pulls west, a bigger storm again in the Midwest, possibly. Warmer east to end January and open February. And then February, I think, can be cold in the central and western U.S. and stormy, and then warmer in the east and the southeast. We're going to kind of get into that here as we go forward. Storm reports yesterday, 44 tornado reports across the deep south. We kind of talked about a bigger storm system in and around the holiday. Wasn't in the form of any wintry weather by any means, but a total of 299 severe weather reports and really a couple of significant wind reports and tornado reports there across the deep south. So no slouch of a storm system here. And it's still going on here this morning. This is a look at clarity this morning, or this afternoon, if you will. Still see a large area of rain and thunderstorms here going through Florida. Big squall line going down there across Florida. And then just a big area of rain up here across the east. And continuing to just dump needed rain across the Ohio Valley. I will say the rain is needed. Now, here's what's interesting. We go to the future forecast plot here. The next 7 days, look what we're starting to see. We're starting to see some snowfall here. And you can kind of see what that looks like there on the Clarity Engine forecast, some snow coming. So we're going to talk about it, all right? We're going to talk about it right now. This is a look at the European model. Now, what I want to do is I'm going to shift gears a little bit. I'm going to show you kind of just the overall thought process here in general the next few days. From the GFS, we see a storm system move through the evening of New Year's Eve, an area of low pressure. There in the morning of New Year's Eve, getting into the evening, some snow may mix in New Year's Eve day across the Great Lakes. That storm system will move out, brings the colder air down with it. Not a lot of snow, though. Maybe in the interior northeast, you'll get some snow. Up there in the New England area, some snow as well. Not a lot of snow with that storm, but the cold comes filling in. The Clipper system follows on its heels later this week, Thursday into Friday, some accumulating snow across the Ohio Valley. And then the next big storm system works in. And this one on the last couple of runs of the GFS has been interesting. It's been a bigger storm advertised. On this particular run, it's an ice storm across the I-70 corridor, snow from Iowa over towards Chicago and Michigan. Now, on the previous run of the GFS, this was a little bit different looking. It was a little bit colder and a little bit further south. Regardless, the last two runs have had a bigger storm system. Here around the 5th or 6th or so, it is a storm date. This particular instance would transfer this up off to the coast here, a bigger coastal storm, and into the 7th. Nonetheless, an active pattern, but the Arctic air spills in. It is absolutely bone-chilling cold here through the end of the run, just very, very cold. And it's a great pattern, too, for deep south snow. We're going to talk about that. It's a great pattern for it, one of the better ones we've seen in a while. We will obviously touch more on this. So I want to talk about a couple of things. I want to talk about the probabilities of temperatures being colder than 20 degrees below the average. And this is the type of cold, you look at the European ensemble, you're talking about as this stuff starts to arrive into the central U.S. on the 6th of January, the probability being 60% of temperatures being 20 degrees colder than normal. All right, watch as I go forward here. The extreme temperature departures making their way into the Midwest. This is the morning of January 8th. These are 50% probabilities. Look at it kind of expand here by the 9th. 50 to 60% probabilities, Iowa, Illinois. All right, this is a big deal in the Midwest. Very, very cold temperatures. Polar vortex taking a visit. This is out to day 11, January 10th. 40, 50% probabilities of extreme cold, of temperatures being colder than 20 degrees from the average on January 10th. So I'm trying to illustrate to you the level of cold that the ensembling is suggesting. This is the probability of 10 degrees. Again, in the heart of winter, it's very, very cold is the takeaway here, okay? So, nonetheless, just extreme cold coming in. What I want to show you now is we'll just look at the European model and its projection of apparent temperatures, just what the temperature will feel like. And that's just what's been remarkable here. How cold it can get. Anything you see here, these greens, these dark greens, these are well below zero, feels like. All right, this is just bitterly cold Arctic air spilling in with negative wind chill values. That's the European operational data. Okay, here's the GFS. We'll talk about what it's a little bit more intense with the cold. Watch it. Watch the cold start to spill in, especially after the 8th. Okay, watch it come down. Big storm system would bring snow with it, and it would bring the connection of the vortex. And again, you can see feels like temperatures minus 20, minus 30 degrees. Look at that, just gripping the Midwest here. In fact, I'll zoom in here to a central view. Again, this is the morning of the 10th. A lot of ensemble support for cold wind chills to be in the negative 20, negative 30, negative 40 degree range all the way through January 8th through the 12th here. It's just remarkable how much cold the model's predicting. Now, there's a lot of run-to-run variability on the snowfall. And I want to talk about that real quick. I'm going to show you the surface, just the total snowfall here on this particular run of the model. Okay. And you can see a couple things here. You can see the deep south snow indication on the morning run. There's a big storm in here in the Midwest too, in the Midwest and Great Lakes, the interior Northeast. That's the 12Z run. Here was the 6Z run. So this was the run just prior to that. Again, more deep south. Look at that snow in Florida. Probably not likely, but you can see it's interesting nonetheless. Not off the table, the Northeast there with snow. And then this is 3 runs ago, last night's run. Again, look at the deep south snow suggestions. Regardless, erratic model behavior, a lot of run-to-run, wildness there. Here's the latest European. Look how far south it's got the snow. And then I'm going to show you the Canadian as well. Regardless, all the modeling showing snow. The safest way to look at this is the European ensemble approach out to the 15-day time frame. You can see just how much snow the ensemble mean is projecting. And this is, again, this is the 2-inch line. So it is basically saying, the ensemble mean is saying, there's a potential for 2 inches or more of snow anywhere north of this line out through the morning of January 13th. And there's probably a couple of notable clippers and bigger storms in here in that time frame, especially a little bit beyond that as well. So, guys, bottom line is the pattern is favorable. It's here to play, and we've got winter coming for quite some time. All right, this is the look at the GFS, keeping the stratospheric polar vortex on this side of the planet ready for tap. It's there. If a storm system comes through, it's drawing down the cold, and you're going to pull this type of cold weather down with it. All right, there's the European, and you can even go to the GFS ensemble out to 384. We've got a stretched, elongated vortex available for tap. So as the storms move through, it can bring this Arctic air down. No reason to discredit how cold the models are right now because we have the availability there for the Arctic air to pull it in. Okay. Best model, in my opinion, that's handled the evolution of the MJO, just looking at things over the last couple of weeks, has been the CFS. The American CFS Weekly has handled a good projection of the MJO forecast, going 7, 8, 1, 2, eventually 3 by the very end of January and into February. And that gives us some clues, right? You can see it tries to get into phase 3 pretty much the last week of January here, all right? That gives us some clues into what to look for and what to expect of the evolution or the progress of the pattern. Here's phase 1 of the MJO. Now, phase 1, we're going to be getting into somewhere around the second week of January. We're going to really dump in some Arctic air. I do think phase 1 ends up being a little bit further east here with the mean trough axis. Okay, I think the trough's a little bit further east. Regardless, we're seeing the ridging here. I'm going to change my color so you can see it a little bit better. Across the top, move this trough a little bit further east. And I think we've got a good analog there for that. But what I really want to show you is the progression. Here's phase 2. Phase 2 of the MJO is that second into that third week of January. Note what starts to happen, okay? We're still seeing the indications of North Pacific blocking. All right, but look at this feature down here. Look at the slight subtle suggestions of the southeast ridge, and the trough that was once here is backing west. All right, the pattern we believe starts to do that and retrograde west a little bit. Not only is this supporting this, but generally the global wind oscillation and some of the mountain and frictional torque suggestions. It's a little bit of a deeper conversation, not really for a YouTube video, but suggested that the pattern steps back. It's kind of does a step back. So instead of having the mean trough axis here, it's going to probably pull west a little bit. And what that's going to do is change up the pattern quite a bit. And you can see into phase 3 that suggestion would continue. Even if we get that out into February, we would need to monitor that. So we've got years that offer up some hints right now to the pattern. These 4 years are a great match to the 500 millibar pattern right now: 1977, 94, 2011, and 2014. Okay, when you look at the 500 millibar charts, they pretty much look like that. In fact, just so I can show you, just so you can see it, this is the pattern here. It looks awfully similar to that. All right, there it is. There's week 2, and there's the analog. I mean, it doesn't really get much better than that. So these years giving us a good indication. They featured intense cold dumps of cold air. 94 was some of the coldest temperatures Indiana and Ohio has ever seen. In Kentucky, 94 was brutal cold. 14 was a lot of cold. 11, of course, everyone can probably think about 1977. That's a hell of an analog to throw in here, but it matches. 77 was an El Nino. We probably won't use that rolling forward, but here's what these years looked like. Okay, you put these years together, you analog them, try to find the best possible clue. Note these years are dry in here, all right? Now, I will tell you, see how dry they are here? I want to show you something. I want to show you the CONUS pattern week 2 precip, because it's dry there. That's what it looks like. So in this type of pattern, what you would get is, in fact, I'm going to show you a couple of, there's EPS, there's the GEFS, and there's the Canadian. They're all pretty much dry. But in this type of pattern, what you would likely get is clippers, for one. You're going to have an active northern stream with intense cold that won't bring a lot of precip, but it'll probably bring a lot of snow. 1, 2, 3, 4 inch clippers, maybe 5, 6 inch clippers where it's really cold. It's a clippery pattern. But then you would also get these storm systems that would tend to track a lot further south and up the coast. All right. Great pattern for snow down in here. Just because you're below normal precipitation does not mean you cannot get snow. And I would imagine we probably talk about a snowstorm in the deep south here sometime in the first 2 weeks of January. It wouldn't shock me at all. Look at the core of the cold and where it's focused. I really want you to pay attention to this. This is these 4 years put together. This is very, very cold temperatures here in January, focused in the Midwest, Great Lakes, interior Northeast, Mid-Atlantic. It's cold everywhere, but the intense part of the cold. Look at the model. This is the North American Ensemble Forecast System. It's just really, really similar. All right, it's a good match. It's a absolutely cold pattern. And when we look at these years, we look for snow potential. Look what all 4 of these years feature. It's really, really cool to see this, especially if you're in the deep south. They all feature the snow. Okay, above normal snows here, and missed the drawing. Very snowy pattern. 94, not as far south, but still a good one down there in the Ohio Valley, interior Northeast. Look at 2011. You can see the Clipper track in 2011 and the big storm track south. And 14, a couple of big storms and the big storm tracks to the south. Nonetheless, you get the point here. These years favor deep digging storm systems and Clipper type systems as well. Okay. Now, looking into February, this is the deal here, is we don't believe that type of pattern hangs. In fact, it's probably the end of the 3rd week of January into the beginning of the 4th where the pattern pulls back, as I mentioned. These top analogs here, we're looking at MJO evolution, the angular momentum, and kind of how the polar vortex behaved in these years of February. And I really like this. I like that. I think there's going to be this, we're going to kind of see a glimpse of the low frequency or the base state of the atmosphere. plus T and H pattern show up here, specific blocking here. And that's going to open the door for Midwest cold and snow, and probably kind of shut it off a little bit for the East Coast and the Southeast into February, warmer. But this is what these analog years do, and that's kind of the idea, especially as MJO goes and the GWO kind of orbits around and they all go 1, 2, 3. It suggests the pattern steps back. Hey, listen, the European weeklies do this. I mean, I'm just going to show you. They do exactly what the analogs are showing. It's very interesting. This is week 2. Watch week 3. Okay, here we go into week 4. There it goes, right there. And then watch what starts to happen. Look at the southeastern ridging suggestions. Look at the Pacific Northwest trough, the trough there in the middle. I'll tell you what, this is a very stormy look. It's a very, very stormy look. If we go to 46-day snow totals for the ensemble mean, you can just see how much snow is suggested here. Look at the North America view. Look at this. This is remarkable. This would be a lot of snow, and really above normal snow for a large chunk of this area, as that pattern would set up that gradient here, the troughs back out to the west, and you swing storm systems up through here. It's an interior northeast storm track. Not saying the coastal regions can't get it, but that's the suggestion there. Okay, so what do those years look like for temperature departures in February? Here's what they look like: a little bit warmer to the south and east, neutral in the northeast, maybe a degree or 2 colder. I'm not saying it's a torch by any means. I'm just saying it's warmer than what it's going to be now. And this sets up the battle zone here. This is precipitation departures in these years. I really think if you're looking for snow, and a lot of it, I think you're going to probably be looking in these parts. And again, a secondary area to look for it is going to be from the clipper action as well. Primarily 1 and 2 coming from snow source regions, if you will. So that's the idea. All right, that's the idea. If you've got questions, let us know. Subscribe to the channel if you got some value out of this. If you like it, we'll continue to keep you posted. And y'all have a great new year and a start to 2025. And I'll probably do another video before then. We'll see you.